Welcome to Garden Update 11th of November 2025, heading into the depths of spring, although today it's very hard to tell because it's only been a top of 10 degrees, so yeah, spring partially there. Anyway, well, I thought we'd do a quick tour of the garden just to see what's been going on. It's only been, I think, about 3 weeks since the last video, but lots has changed already as this is this kind of busy period. So let's have a look. Pretty sure I didn't include this in the last video because it might have been just after that I changed it, but I've finally moved the strawberries in to the side beds. So removed a few of the weeds and the grasses that were here, threw in some extra sunflowers as well, just for a bit of fun. And eventually I'm going to move this rock out the front and we'll be turning this pallet wood into just a cover that's kind of going to go over the top there. So hopefully that'll be ready as I get to the probably the next video, which will be in a couple of weeks or so. So that's the strawberries finally done. I haven't actually done anything with this veggie pod just yet, but I'll probably set up some, I'd imagine maybe just leafy greens or something like that, something nice and easy, as it is very close to the house, so it's quite easy to get over here and grab some, cut some lettuce off and off you go. I still need to top up these saffron pots and build some covers for them, but that's on the cards. Raspberries are doing well, need to do a little bit of weeding. Raspberries I think they're sort of trying to get used to the weather because it has been hot one weekend and then cold for an entire week or so. So these guys are probably struggling a little bit. And we do have these lilies just coming out, which is nice to see. Good sign that the warmer weather is pretty much here. And over on the left, I think I spoke about these last time, but this is the asparagus bed. And what do you know? This is the first of the asparagus. And in fact, this one looks like it got topped by some sort of animal, some sort of pest. Meanwhile, these ones here are going quite well. So this bed is going to need a bit more protection now that I know the asparagus is actually coming up nicely. So I'm probably going to put some chicken wire over the top of this. As you can see, not only birds, but I have a suspicion maybe an odd mouse or two has been digging around in this bed. But yeah, with asparagus, of course, you have to leave it for several years, if I'm not mistaken, like 2 or 3 years. So you just let these shoots come up and let the more I guess you'd say extravagant leaf come up as it gets into the colder period. I think that's how it works. And after a couple of years, you can finally start harvesting some asparagus. So yeah, good to see that this one's coming along. And next up, we'll go across to the bed just over to the left there. Previously, this was the mountain of the sugar snap peas. What else did we have in here? There was the odd tomato, I think, that had somehow survived. Oh no, not tomato, sorry. Silver beet. So there was silver beet in here. It was all doing really, really well. This bed in general actually does really well because this bed actually faces, like, to my back is direct east. So it does really well with a lot of that morning sun, I believe, and keeps it nice and warm throughout the day. What we've got in here now are golden beetroot on the left. We've then got red onion, brown onion. There's a climbing bean at the back here. So we've got a climbing, it's kind of a purpley color. I can't remember the actual name of it. A leftover hellebore. I've kept this one in. We did have hellebores across the rest of this, but they weren't growing very well, and so I took them out. And a couple of leftover beetroot of the bull's blood variety, the red ones. And then across to the right side, this is just going to stay as a bit of an ornamental garden. To sort of keep some flowers over here on this side, and I'll probably pop some more flowers in there too. So yeah, so while we're over this side, I thought I'd jump into the greenhouse, have a look at what's still going in here. So I've done really, really well with the avocados. Have sort of re-leafed themselves. I think I mentioned this on a previous video, but they basically dropped all of their leaves and then reacquired them again. I'm not exactly sure why this happens. I should probably look up why. But otherwise, they seem to be doing okay now. Meanwhile, on the left side, the curry is also starting to come back. It's got a bit more color, which is nice to see. So the rest of what's going on here is primarily tomatoes, and then there are some chilies and there's some capsicums in here as well, along with the odd nasturtium. We've got watermelon as well. So the watermelon just here, these are growing up quite nicely. I'm gonna have to move them into some bigger pots quite soon. This zucchini is about to go out into the garden. Just waiting for a cold, very cold night tonight. It's gonna drop down to 2 degrees. So we'll let these guys have a bit of a rest in here. The tomatoes can't go out until the garlic is out of the way, because the garlic is currently sitting where those tomatoes are going to go. So let's go over to that side of the garden and have a look. Before we get to that side, the herb garden is actually flourishing. The sage has done really well considering it was planted in winter. I transplanted some flat leaf parsley in here. It's a bit droopy at the moment, but it's just sort of coming to grips with its new location. This used to be out the front, and you'll see why shortly, why I've moved it. But otherwise, the thyme is going really well. We're flowering in the chives, and then the pineapple sage, as it always does, is recovering quite quickly now that we're in spring. So just this random lettuce that I've got in here, and in fact there's another one over there, and I'll just have to figure out some other herbs to pop in this space. But otherwise, this was always intended to be a bit of a herb bed, if you will, to surround this bay tree, which is from my grandmother's garden. So yeah, this is doing quite well. Now across to previous seasons, this has been a potato bed, and what I've done this year is the plan is to actually change things up a little bit and do a little bit more diversity, and slightly less on particular plants. So instead of having like 16 broccoli plants, which is what I had in here in the winter, we're actually going to do a lower sort of volume of that, and this is going to be a great example of it. So this bed has been topped off with compost from my compost bins, so it should, I'm hoping, have a lot of nutrients here. You can see there's all sorts of stuff in here. Don't worry about that purple stuff. That's from some compostable bags that I threw in the compost a long time ago. But yeah, hoping this bed does really, really well, as a sign that my composting has not been in vain. In this spot is going to be the zucchini. I'm going to pop in some carrots and maybe some onions here as well. In the middle, we've got a set of 9 potatoes, if I remember correctly. So this space is about, it's almost 2 meters by 2 meters. So there's a good amount of space here. And then here at the end, I've got 4, forgotten the variety. It's in the Jarrahdale, I think it is, Jarrahdale pumpkins. So very large kind of, not a butternut style, but yeah, you can just sort of see them here. There's one just here, and then a couple there. Obviously a bit of a small space for 4 pumpkin plants, but I'm assuming that one might not pull its weight, and then perhaps they'll grow back into that back end of the raspberry bed, which I'll encourage if I can, and they'll probably grow over to this side as well. So that's what we've got here. So a little bit more diversity with some pumpkins, some potatoes, the zucchini, and then some other root vegetables as well. And speaking of root vegetables, this is the garlic, and probably the last time you'll see it in situ, as it were. So you can see a lot of these ones over here, very small. I've let them go for quite a while, and some of them did really accelerate their growth, mainly these ones across to the side, with the obvious reason of why those ones didn't work is right here, but that's all right. So we'll probably get a half harvest out of this entire array of these garlic, which, you know, it's better than nothing. It's always good to have some homegrown garlic. So we'll see how it goes. Probably going to pull these up in the next week or 2. But this will be where those tomatoes grow. I'm going to put the tomatoes go. in this same sort of spot as I did last year, and I'm going to do a lot more work to try and protect them, to not only make sure the plants grow properly, but also to protect the fruit. And of course, orange is doing well. I'm trying to encourage this to bush out a bit more and actually grow its the actual general structure of the plant. I'd really love it if it was a bit bigger, just to sort of fill up this space. I'd actually like this whole space to be citrus kind of coverage, so the orange here and then the lemon. So just trying to grow this out, hopefully obviously get a few more oranges once it grows out too. Lemon doing well. Bananas, as with the raspberries, just sort of struggling to cope with the weather. So they'll be much more comfortable once some warmer weather persists, rather than this kind of spiky hot weather and then back to cold that we've had. But yeah, I'm expecting they'll do well, hoping that this big one at the back may fruit. It's in its 3rd year, which is when they start to fruit, if I remember correctly. So we'll see what happens. Last but not least, the main beds themselves, stripped out pretty much. I've got some, what are these? Snapdragons, I believe, that have self-seeded. So I'm just keeping them in there. I might keep 1 or 2 just to let them go and add a bit of color to this bed. We've got a heap of this is a weird mix of leeks and onions at the same time, spring onions. So yeah, this is just an assortment going to flower now, as you can see, but I do use them. I've been using a lot of these in some of the food that we have, so been quite nice to have fresh spring onions. And over in this bed, this has changed quite a lot. We used to have, I imagine there's a picture I can pop in the picture-in-picture here, but this used to be all the silver beet and kale and all this kind of stuff, and not long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, this was all like filled up with greenery, but I've removed all of that, popped a lot of it into the green waste and some of it into the compost as well. And now what we've got in here are some self-seeded lettuce. I've got bull's blood beetroot in here. We've also got some small dwarf bean plants as well. And then basically from this point, there's going to be a lot of room for putting in whatever we want. So we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, all these lettuce here, these are pretty much all self-seeded. There is a couple of spinach here, which I'm about to harvest, and then some more beetroot at the end. So this particular bed is done quite well, especially down this end. So I'm excited to see what happens there as we move into the warmer period, I hope. And last but not least, let's have a quick look out the front. I think I've said last but not least twice now, but definitely last is the corn. Got the corn going in the front yard. Bit of support from these the pig's face plants at the front, but yeah, this is going to look really, really nice once these corn grow through. Get some homegrown corn. This is a super sweet golden variety, so not a popcorn, not a kind of fun gem corn or anything like that. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this one. But anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you soon.